Yo, I forgot how much I love that introduction. Every time it comes on, I'm just over here bouncing like, oh yeah. Bro, what's going on? Let's welcome everybody in. We are here for episode 41 of the Think Big podcast. I cannot believe we are at 41 episodes. That's 41 weeks of consistently showing up. Wait, 41 weeks of showing up? Bro, there's 52 weeks in a year. We've almost been doing this for a year.
That's crazy, bro. It
Dude,
went,
it
went by so fast.
it doesn't even feel like it's been that long yet. And
Nah.
man, I'm excited about today's topic. Actually, Alejandro, it's kind of funny when the camera turns on and we get back here on the podcast. It's almost like this surge of energy comes into me. So if you guys are new here, let me first off introduce myself. My name is Marlon Johnson. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a high performance coach. I invest in real estate. I do all that fun stuff. This is one of my hosts on the show, Alejandro Alvarez. He is a high level real estate investor. He is a serial entrepreneur. He is a 7-figure a month man like this. He's not there yet. Like his bank account don't show it yet, but he's there. And like that's what he's building towards, which is crazy. And normally we have our partners Sam Singh and Daryl Ellison on the episode, but today we got Sam Singh traveling around Las Vegas. He's actually setting up a midterm rental, and he's hanging out with Kevin Cho and Pace Morby. And then Daryl, right now, if you guys actually go to Daryl's YouTube, he's in the middle of streaming his live calls to sellers right now. So he's on a absolute work grind. He's inspiring his team, and he decided that he was going to jump back into a seat to really get his salespeople up to pour into his community. So he's taking a break from the episode so that he can pour into his Dog Pound community, which some of you are members of. So shout out to Daryl and the Dog Pound. I'm excited to be here, man. And like, I think you can hear it in my voice because tonight we're going to be talking about the secrets behind exponential growth. And even finding out that we're on episode 41, it dials into what we're going to be talking about, like this topic of conversation. But before we get inside there, I got to ask you a question, Alejandro. I got to know, what are you grateful for, bro?
Brother, I am grateful that I have the wisdom to help change other people's lives. I truly am. I have, people randomly texting me or calling me saying thank you. And I'm like, for what? Like, what did what did I do? And they're like, well, I just saw your podcast. I saw your episode. I saw your Instagram. I saw your post on Facebook. And, it's interesting because a lot of people always say like, man, I don't know if I should, put myself out there on social media and stuff like that. And, a mentor once told me, it was like, hey, you have a lot of talent, and it's selfish of you to keep it to yourself when there's people out there that need your help. And, here it is. He was right. And, I truly, truly appreciate that. And, whether it's business or personal, for me to help someone based off the things I say on this podcast or on social media, that's what I'm grateful for, man. Grateful for.
Bro, I love that. And you're absolutely right. I want to give a shout out to some of the people that have been showing up in the audience. One person in particular whose name is coming to my mind, Karnik, because he's been sharing the podcast episodes. He's been commenting. He's reached out. But I think he DM'd you guys as well. I know he's reached out and he's messaged me just saying thank you for the information. Thank you for the knowledge. And I just want to say, like, I appreciate that. I love when you guys reach out and let us know that this is impactful, because there are episodes where we have 1,000+ viewers in the comments and then in the audience, and then there are episodes where we have like 5 viewers in the audience. And if there's even one person watching, I get excited because that's the opportunity to pour into another person. Because you and I, we've both been just one person in the audience. Right. Like,
Yeah.
you and I have been in a room full of people, and we're that one person in the audience who, as we're listening, we feel like the person on the stage, the person at the front of the room, is talking directly to us. And that's because they were, and they are. That message is coming directly for us. And so today, if you guys, as we talk, you ever feel like the message is specifically for you, I want you to know that it is. It really is. We do this for you guys. We do this so that your life can be better, your life can be easier, and we're able to share some of the knowledge that we gathered along the way, and we're able to keep that conversation going. These are some of the higher level conversations that you might not normally get hanging out with your friends that you grew up with, the people that are in your neighborhood that live in your house with you, the people that share the same last name as you. You might not get the sort of conversations that you have here on the Think Big podcast. So continue to grow up, continue to share these out with people. And tonight, let's jump into it. We're going to be talking about the secret behind exponential growth. And really, when we talk about this, I said earlier, we're on episode 41, and that plays a part of what the secret is, which is volume. So earlier, I was talking to Alejandro and Sam, and we are in our group chat, and we are talking about, like, hey, what do we want to talk about tonight? And I mentioned I want to talk about volume because that's been something that's been weighing heavily on my heart recently. And what do I mean by volume? I've been helping out a lot of people. People have been reaching out in my DMs. I've been spending time responding to them on Facebook, just jumping on calls, one-on-ones with some people. Some of these people are my clients. Some of these people are just total strangers. And one of the things I find a lot of people are struggling with is they haven't seen the seeds. They haven't seen the harvest. They haven't actually gotten a reward yet from the work that they put in. Maybe they've been making phone calls. They've been prospecting. They've been driving for dollars. They're putting out their content on social media. There's a lot of different things. Some people are like, hey, I just bought this course, but I'm still not sure if I did the right thing. And I'm like, when did you buy the course? They're like, 3 weeks ago. I'm like, dude, you did the right thing. You just have not put in enough volume yet. And this is something I want to remind you guys. Some of you are actually on the right track. You're doing all the right things. You're watching podcasts like this instead of messing around and watching more sports and ESPN. You're taking your free time, your leisure time, and you're reading books, or you're going to networking events, and you're building the foundation. You're putting in the repetition to ultimately get to where you want to be. However, you haven't yet put in enough time. You haven't built out that experience bar yet. And one of the most common causes of failure that I've seen isn't that a person's doing the wrong thing. It's that they don't do the right thing long enough for the result to actually come into fruition. And I like to tell people, and I bring them back to my personal story of when I got into real estate investing, for example. Even before real estate investing, I'll go to a second story, but I'm going to tell you real estate investing, and then I'm going to tell you another story before that, which is where I learned this lesson. But when I got into real estate investing, I started doing something called wholesaling. Many of you are familiar with this. And this is for, if you're not familiar, if you're new to the channel, wholesaling is a form of transactional real estate where you would go out and you find distressed properties or distressed property owners, and you contract the property. You put the home under contract to purchase, and you don't actually purchase the property. You take that contract and you sell it to somebody else so that they can purchase the property at a discount, and you collect a spread in between what you contracted it for and what you sell it for. I did this in the beginning, and when I was getting started, this was the only way I could get into real estate because I didn't have any capital. I was actually in the negative. I had spent I had $3,000 of cash in my bank account. I had spent that on a $25,000 real estate mentorship. I actually went into debt to get into this real estate mentorship program. And so I was down. I had no money. I couldn't market. I couldn't buy anything. I didn't know how to raise money at that time. So wholesaling was really the only option I had where I was able to leverage sweat equity. I was able to leverage my work. And this looked like making phone calls, cold calling. For the very first time in my life, never had a sales job. I started cold calling. And some of you know this process, picking up the phone, reaching out. Hey, are you interested in buying your house? Screw you. Hey, are you interested in buying your house? Rock. Hey, are you interested in buying a house or selling your house? Get a real job. I mean, guys, I was making calls for 6 to 8 hours straight every single day, not part-time. I was doing this full-time because this was also at the beginning of the quarantine when everything shut down. So I didn't have a job to even go to. So I'm sitting in my mom's dining room making calls, hand dialing on a Google Voice every single day, just putting in the reps. And I wish I can tell you at day 24, I got that deal. That deal did not come at day 24. That deal did not come at day 44. That deal did not come at day 64. It took me 8 months of consistently 6 to 8 hour days of dialing before I got my first deal. I made thousands of calls leading up to getting my first paycheck. And that first paycheck did not wipe out all of my debt. That first paycheck was only for $4,000. However, what I got to see there was volume. Volume made up what I was lacking in skill. Volume made up what I was lacking in understanding. Volume made up what I was lacking in experience. And this is the formula for just about anybody doing anything that you want to excel at. You've got to continue to put the volume in. In fact, I had people, and Alejandro, you probably have seen these people that came into the industry and they got a home run deal. I'm talking within the first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, got a $20,000 rip, $30,000 rip. And what happened, most of those people, because they didn't learn the lesson about volume and consistency, I don't see them in the business anymore today. They fizzled out because they never had to build and strengthen that muscle. They never had to get tough skin, thick skin. So after that first deal, when they were beginning to go through the process that I was already being beat up against, they couldn't stand it. They thought something was wrong and they fell off. They quit. They were miscalibrated. They never calibrated the actual muscle that needed to get strengthened. And I want to remind you all that are listening right now that you're going to be going through the process, and it is a process. It will take time, and you have to stick with it. And the best way I know how to make sure you stick with it is to remind yourself of 2 words. It's going to be remind yourself of the word better and remind yourself of the word more. In fact, I want you to write those down. Comment in the chat, better and more, if you're understanding this. The reason I'm telling you to say better and the reason I'm telling you to say more, and I spoke about this about 3 or 4 weeks ago on a previous episode. When we're looking at what we should be doing in our business, oftentimes if it's not working right away, we naturally begin to think, I need to go do something new. I need to go and try. Maybe I need to do gator lending. Maybe I need to be a private lender. Maybe I need to get into hard money. Maybe I need to do short-term rentals. Maybe I need to do pad split. Maybe I need to do Airbnb. Maybe I need to do Airbnb arbitrage. You know what? Maybe I should do creative financing. Maybe I should do wrapping. Maybe I should do wholesale deals. Maybe I should do cash deals. And we start trying all these other things because nothing's clicked immediately. And listen, this is what happens. You've got to stick with it long. And when you start to get a little success, let's say you wait out the 3 months, the 4 months, the 6 months. I typically say if you're brand new at this business, give yourself 12 months. I say give yourself 12 months. Don't anticipate getting a deal for the first 12 months. If you can mentally get into that frame of mind, not saying that it's going to take 12 months to get a deal. It will not. However, if you can get into that mental frame of mind, what you're doing is you're making yourself into an infinite player. You're playing a longer game. So after you do get your first victory, you do get your first deal, you get that 20K rip, that 30K rip, before you say, great, now it's time to quit my job and to scale this sucker, stop, slow down. Because when you say the word scale, what typically you mean is I'm going to add on some new verticals. I'm going to put some other things and attach it to it. Not yet. First, I want you to look at what you're currently doing. So if you're making calls, if you're calling realtors, can I do this better? Are these conversations that I have with the realtors taking 30 minutes, 45 minutes before I'm able to get a contract? Can I condense that conversation into 10, 15, or 20 minutes? Can I increase the efficiency? Can I make it better? Right? So again, comment better if you're hearing me. Can I make that conversation better? And then after I make it better, can I do more of those better conversations? When I start to maximize better and more, when I'm at the place where I'm like, you know what, literally, I cannot shorten these conversations anymore. I've gotten to all the objections as quickly as I can. I've built the rapport as quickly as I can. But if I shorten it, I'm actually going to diminish the return. I'm going to hurt the conversation. So I can't do it any better. And I physically can't make any more calls. I have a dialer. I've got a triple line dialer. I'm texting. I'm doing all the things, and I'm at my capacity. I don't have the capacity to do any more. I am now at all of my leverage. Awesome. Now you can introduce new. You introduce new at this stage because you've maximized better and more. And new typically looks like you're going to demonstrate it to someone else. You're going to demonstrate how you do it so that they can duplicate the process. You want to be able to delegate it off to someone else. So you're going to delegate, you're going to demonstrate so you can duplicate and delegate. And at that place, you'll be able to pull yourself out of that position and move into the next position because you've maximized better and more. And volume is going to be the thing that gets you there. Doing more of it, repetition. Repetition is the key of mastery. I can't tell you how many times I've done the things that people now congratulate me for. For example, I am blessed. I'm very, very fortunate. I get the opportunity to speak on stages. I get the opportunity to coach. I get the opportunity to do sales trainings for 200, 300, 400 plus people on Zooms. In fact, tomorrow morning, there'll probably be about 150 people to 200 people at 5 a.m. on a Zoom call with me doing sales training and mindset training with me. And I'm extremely fortunate that I'm put into a position where I'm able to guide people through their challenges, and people compliment me. And I'm grateful that they do. They compliment me on my ability to articulate, on my ability to teach, on my ability to pass knowledge. And what they don't ever see, what they don't know is that in private, when the cameras aren't rolling, when the microphone's not on, I'm practicing. I'm practicing delivery. I'm practicing putting content together. I'm practicing analogies. I'm practicing stories. I'm sitting down. I'm going through my notes. I'm studying. I'm doing all this stuff. There's a lot of repetition happening in the background that I don't necessarily promote on my social media, not because I'm ashamed to promote it, but simply because I'm in the middle of doing it. And I want to remind you that sometimes, Miko, sometimes, Victor, your favorite person that you see out there, they've just done a lot of volume and they've done the better and the more. In fact, Alejandro, he's a prime example of this. This man is a workhorse. Alejandro is constantly putting in work to improve himself, constantly doing the sales training, constantly with his team and with himself. He's constantly doing things like meditating, reading his books, waking up, committing to his workouts, committing to his exercises, committing to his schedule. He's doing a lot of work. There's a lot of volume work in the back that's helping him to become, that's helping him to be the man who attracts success. So when we talk about this secret to exponential growth, really it should be the secret to success. It's not about, okay, how do I chase after and do something new? Oftentimes, the thing you need to do is the thing you're already doing currently. You don't actually need to go do something new. Oftentimes, you're going to start where you are currently. If this is resonating with you, put some fire in the chat. I need to know that this is hitting, because right now I'm on a one-way screen. I'm on a one-way monitor. I don't get to see your faces. Like, I wish I could see Miko's face or Peter's face or Hillary's face right now. I don't get to see your face. So the only way I know you're engaging is in the chat. So drop some fire in the chat if this is clicking to you, if this is making sense, because I want this sent out to other people. I want people to hear this message and be reminded that what you're doing right now, odds are you're going to need to do more of it. And here's Alejandro, I'm gonna pass the mic over to you in a second, but like I want to say this because this is on my heart. This has been weighing heavy on my soul. What's up, Tawana? This has been weighing heavy on my soul. Orlando, appreciate you. Hillary, appreciate you. Appreciate you, Miko. Appreciate you, Peter. What's been weighing heavy on my soul is this idea that when we've got to go out and do the volume, we've got to start with where we're at. And I understand that sometimes people are like, I don't want to do more of the things I'm doing currently. I don't want to be doing what I'm doing. And I want you to think about this. Really stop for a moment. Let every distraction slip to the side. Give me your attention for the next 5 minutes, please. Put your cell phone down. If you're watching this on the laptop, close the other tab. In fact, pull out a notebook, and I want you to have a question for yourself. This is the question that you are going to take, and later tonight, you're going to do the work of answering this question for you. This is when you come into, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 coaching with me. These are the sort of questions I ask people. So y'all are getting it for showing up here tonight on episode 41. What I'm going to ask you is, when you look at the work that needs to be done and you find yourself dreading it, you don't want to do it, ask yourself, why don't I want to do this work? Is this the work that I'm in love with? Because oftentimes I see people chasing after dreams. I see people chasing after goals that aren't in alignment with them. For example, and I use basic analogies to break this down because I want you to see where I'm coming from. Imagine I'm a young child and I show a gift for the sport of tennis. And so my parents put me in tennis practice and they had me going out and they want to see me get to Wimbledon. And I'm playing. However, I absolutely hate the sport. I hate showing up to practice. I hate showing up for the games. Although I have a skill for it, I absolutely despise it. Do you think I'm ever going to become the world's best tennis player? Probably not, because every day I'm playing, all I'm thinking about is when can I quit? When can I get out of here? When can I stop? The people that become the best at what they do, the people that excel at what they do, think with the mentality of how can I keep going? How can I stay in the game longer? How can I grow? Earlier, about 2 weeks ago, Alejandro brought some stats to the show. He said that it was such a small percentage of businesses that ever make it over the $1 million mark, and even less than 1% ever make it over the $10 million mark. If I were to look at my business as a sport, because that's how I view entrepreneurship, I view it as a sport. And if I wanted to become a professional athlete at a particular sport, let's say basketball now, right? There's a difference between the person that wants to become a professional athlete at basketball or the person that just enjoys playing a couple of pickup games on the weekend. If you got into business just to do a couple of pickup games on the weekend, meaning you want to make a couple $10,000, an extra $30,000, an extra $50,000 per year, you don't really need to tune in deeply to this conversation, because I'm talking right now to the people that say, no, I want to make it to the majors. I'm trying to get that championship ring. That's who I want to be. I want to be the person where my business is producing 7, 8, 9 figures in revenue. Cool. So listen to what I'm saying. If that's where you want to go with your business, you're ultimately talking about becoming a professional athlete. And if I said to Alejandro, I want to become a professional football player or a professional basketball player, Alejandro would look at me and say, well, do you understand what's required? He would say that means, especially if you're starting at this age, we're not talking about doing 1 a days. We're not talking about doing 2 a days. We're talking about doing 3 a days, 4 a days, or 5 a days. And we're talking about doing this consistently for the next 5, 6, 7 years before you're able to finally even catch up. And then we're talking about your drive for this. Your drive for this can't just be you want to make a paycheck, because after you make that paycheck, you're going to begin to lose momentum. So when we start to understand this and we look at the fact that entrepreneurship is your new sport and you've got to put in that level of work, it comes to this question. If I said you want to be a basketball player, are you willing to put in the 5 a days? And you said to me, no, I just want the ring. Do you think you're actually going to make it? This is what's happening in business right now. You're telling me you want a 7-figure business. You're telling me you want an 8-figure business, but you don't want to put in the 2 a days. You don't want to put in the 3 a days. You actually hate the work. You might even have a talent for it, but you don't love the sport. You're playing the game with the mindset of when is this over? You are not going to be able to compete with somebody like Alejandro. You will not be able to compete with somebody like Sam Singh, with somebody like Pace Morby. And those people are in the marketplace. And although you're not competing with them, you will not be able to keep up. You will not be able to reproduce at that level if your mindset is, I can't wait for this to stop, versus their mindset is, I'm excited to get another percentage point better tomorrow. I'm excited to put in this work, because although it's hard work, I'm willing to do it. So the question I want you to ask yourself is, if you right now, in order to achieve your goal, had to not put in 10 times more of the effort, but 100 times more of the effort, write this down. If I had to put in 100x the effort, in order to achieve the result, would I be willing to do that? And if you're struggling to answer that question, if you're a parent, what I want to ask you is, if you had to put in 100 times the effort to ensure that your child was raised healthily and safely, right? That you had a healthy child that grew up to be strong and happy and joyful, would you put in that work? Would you put in 100x the effort to raise your child to become happy and healthy? Without a hesitation, you said hell yes. So let me tell you this. If the answer for you is not hell yes for your business, that you're not willing to put in 100x the effort towards the work, not just get the result, but the actual work involved in getting the result, you might be doing the wrong thing. In which case, you need to hurry up and figure out what is the thing you want to be doing. And if you're doing the wrong thing right now, make sure that you're doing it in a way to get you towards the right thing that you actually want to be doing. And that's how you begin to excite yourself to put in the work, because the work is required. Alejandro, would you agree with me that the work is required, that they've got to be willing to put in probably 100x the effort that they think they need to put in?
Oh, 1000%.
So
1000%.
I know I just like went off on like a little bit of a rant there. But like I said, this has been weighing on my heart. And what's up, Jade? This has been weighing on my heart. And I like it. Miko says she wants to be a pro athlete, right? Entrepreneurship, it's like being a pro athlete, right? Because, and Alejandro, I'm curious, when you first got into this business, did it seem easier from the outside before you got into the game, or did you already have a solid expectation of what this would be, what this life would be?
Before I answer that, brother, you just went on for 25 minutes spitting straight facts and value. Hold on, let's take a pause there. Anyone in the chat gain value from this amazing human being right here? Put some emojis in the chat, bro. Thank you for sharing that. Like, bro, I want to be in the chat with them. I just want to disappear and just listen to what you're saying. Bro, like all that stuff you're saying is 1000% very valuable, man. I appreciate what you're sharing with us, because a lot of people need to hear this, man. Not a lot of people are being honest with each other, so shout out to Marlon. Let's give Marlon some love, guys, in the chat. Let's give him some love.
Bro, I didn't even realize I was talking for 25 minutes. I just like, I appreciate that. I appreciate that you let me talk for 25 minutes, because I felt
Listen,
like
brother,
that needed to
you
get
were
off my
missing
chest.
last week, and uh, it's always a pleasure to be here with you and share the stage, share the podcast with you, because it's always great energy, man. I know I've known you for a while now, and every time you speak is with great intentions. There's never nothing weird behind it. There's never nothing gray behind it. It's always just straight facts with great intentions to help others. And I think this is why you and I get along very well, because once we're off the podcast, we're docked off working and doing what's necessary to succeed. And whenever we're on here, we just let it out, and share it with the world, and the world respond back, and here they are. For those who have been coming every Tuesday consistently, those are the people that are going to always take action and support us. So it's always great to have you here, brother. And that being said, I completely forgot your question because I'm so focused on what you were saying. So do you mind repeating that?
Yeah, so I got that question for you here, and Alejandro, seriously, I appreciate those words, man. And there's so much I want to share with people, and I'm gonna say this now so I don't forget. So you guys could all, and everyone in the audience, hold me accountable to remember to bring this up. That volume is one of the secrets to exponential growth, and then also giving. And we're gonna talk about that because there's a profitable way to give and there's a non-profitable way to give. And this was a paradigm shift that I had not even a few months ago. This is a very new paradigm shift for me. So I'm very excited to dive into this. Alejandro, the question I asked was, when you were getting into real estate, when you're not even just real estate, honestly, entrepreneurship, and you were seeing the vision of what life could be, did you have a disillusion to what the work would be? Did you already anticipate that it was going to be as tough as it was? Did you think it was going to be easier? Like, where were you with the early expectations of getting into business?
Man, brother, I'll be honest with you. That's a really great question. And I'm forcing myself to go back to that thought process. But I honestly wasn't thinking of how difficult it was going to be. I was looking at it as my only option in life right now. Um, so I don't know if that really answered your questions, but if I really had to go back and like, is this going to be hard? I'm probably going to say no. Um, was I expecting it to be like this, how I'm going through it? I'm probably going to say yes, because I was a little bit more prepared. I was listening to the right people, and I already knew, bro. It's just different for me, and I feel like I'm just not the right person to answer this question. But I'm going to say for majority of the people watching, they're not going to know it's this hard. They're going to think, oh, okay, we cold call and we close and we get $10,000 a month, and I blame. Honestly, I blame that to a lot of the quote unquote gurus on YouTube nowadays that, hey guys, here's how I made $10,000. Here's how you can do $10,000 and really quickly, blah 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 blah. But here we are in the Think Big podcast. We're explaining the emotional side of things, the internal side of things of what we go through mentally, man. Because crap, like there's a lot of stuff where, you know, a lot of the business partners that I have in real estate and other businesses, they're complaining a lot about the hurdles, and I'm just laughing. And sometimes I comes off of be I come off as being rude to them because they don't think I'm taking them serious. And the reason why I'm laughing is because I genuinely love this shit. Like I really do. And I mean that with the most respect for those who are thinking like, oh no, you should be a little bit more understanding. No, I love this. Like every time there's a hurdle in the business, there's something going on, the anxieties kick in, and I feel like that anxiety gives me energy, more energy of growth. Like I can feel the growth. It's like, wow. Like if I'm not feeling anxieties, bro, I feel like I'm not growing. It's such a weird thing to say, you know, because people look at, again, it's how you define things. And I say this in every YouTube. It's like how you define certain emotions in your life, it's going to determine what you do next, right? Because if you feel anxieties and you're like, oh, I have anxiety, I need to back away, you're going to back away and you're going to quit. But for me, when I feel that, it's like, holy shit, I'm growing. Let's keep going. And guess what? The next day, the problem is gone. And I just learned a freaking $1 million lesson and I'm making more money. So to answer the question shortly, yes, I was expecting this. What I was not expecting is how freaking long it's going to take for me to be rich as shit. That's what I was not expecting. I thought I was going to be in Lamborghinis in 1 year, but I'm like, oh shit, that's really not the case. So when I realized, I'm like, well, I'm okay with that. That's fine. So that's it. That was the only thing I realized, and you know, here I am.
Well, you know what, Alejandro, first off, I love the answer, man. Like, because hopefully, and the audience can hear and see that, like, we don't just like yes answer each other, right? Like, you're
Yeah.
actually coming from your true perspective. And what you said, right? One, it's funny that you were like, yo, I thought I'd already be rich. But the fact that you enjoy the process, and that comes back to like my earlier point on you have to pick something that you enjoy doing the work. And earlier I said I was going to tell you guys another story, Alejandro, and hopefully this you're going to see how this ties in to entrepreneurship because it has nothing to do with business. It was skateboarding. When I was younger, Alejandro, I picked a sport, skateboarding. I used to skateboard. It was my ultimate passion. In fact, I was convinced I was going to be a pro skateboarder,
You know, I
that
used to
skateboarding was
skateboard
my
too, right?
world. It was going to be everything, bro. I love skateboarding.
I used to
Eh,
skateboard too, bro.
dude, so
My first board was in 2009 from Walmart. I got no, it was not. I got motivated from playing Tony Hawk. You know Tony Hawk back in the
yo,
PlayStation 2
come on,
days.
bro.
Come on, bro. Bro, I was in Puerto Rico at the time. I don't remember where I found this skateboard, but it didn't have any grip on it. It was a straight wood and you know the wheels. And I was for those who don't know the Latin family, we hang our clothes outside with you know with little cliffhangers. And my grandma had like where the line where you
Yep.
put the clothes. I will go outside and I will hang on that line, and that's how I would learn how to ollie and do a kickflip and all
Yeah,
this
let's
stuff.
go.
And then you know that's how it all started. But I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's
Bro, that's
something.
funny because like I learned how to like ollie. I would get two chairs and I'd put the chairs to my side, and like that's how I practice like ollieing and kick flipping and like all that stuff. But to our point, that's a sport. So it's cool that you skateboard because then you understand that's a sport that it is try and fail, try and
Yeah,
fail, try and
yeah.
fail. And you do this for maybe about 1,000 repetitions before you get your first success. So there's
Mhm.
a long line of failure before you get your first success. And it occurred to me, I was like, wow, you know, it's really interesting. I chose a sport where I failed more times than I succeeded, and I failed for a long period of time before I finally got the success. And yet I still stuck with it. I still continued to show up to it day after day. I didn't get discouraged with the failures. Why was that? And I started to realize, okay, well, one, I had an intrinsic passion. I actually just enjoyed the process. It wasn't only the result of landing the trick. There was something about the process. There was something about being in pursuit of the trick that brought me joy in and of itself, whether or not I landed the trick. And I wanted to remind people of this because in entrepreneurship, sometimes the people you see who are doing it at a high level, When you see Alejandro building his business and making those calls, when you see Daryl making his calls, when you see Sam scaling a business, when you see Pace going through the ringer on certain deals and transactions and things of that nature, you are looking at a person who is actually in love with the process. The same way you look at a LeBron James and a Kobe Bryant who are in love with the sport, that practice, although they're doing 2-a-days, 3-a-days, they're working their bodies extremely hard. They're putting themselves under a ton of pressure. They enjoy the process. If you do not enjoy the process, I'm here to tell you that I want you to reconsider. I actually want you to reconsider. This is not to say that the things won't be uncomfortable, because notice failure, right? I said I failed a lot with skateboarding, right? It wasn't that it was an enjoyable process. I enjoyed the process, right? Alejandro just said he experienced the anxieties. How many people do you hear saying that they enjoyed the anxiety? He's saying he enjoyed that anxiety. There's going to be certain things that you enjoy the work. You enjoy the stress of it. You enjoy the pressure of it. You actually like that process. You need to figure out what that thing is for you, because that's the thing that you're called to do. Stop doing the thing that other people are talking about. Start doing the thing that you were put on this earth to do. Start doing the thing that you feel called to do. You've got to listen to that quiet voice within. Nobody told me to go love skateboarding. I fell in love with skateboarding. Nobody has to tell me to go fall in love with personal development and coaching and speaking on stages. I love doing those things. Not everybody does. So if someone else is trying to copy me, but they don't enjoy the same things I enjoy, I'm going to destroy them. They will not make it. They wouldn't be able to keep up. And even if they do, even if they will themselves into keeping up, what's going to happen is there will be no fulfillment in their victory. There'll be no satisfaction. And trust me, guys, I've been there. I've made a lot of money doing things that I didn't want to be doing, and there was no satisfaction in the reward. So keep that in mind. Now, earlier, Alejandro, before I deviate, because earlier I also said the second thing, which is to get focused and get obsessed with giving. Is there anything you want to add to that before I start to jump over to this concept of when we're looking at exponential growth in our business, to get obsessed with giving and to reframe giving from a standpoint of making giving profitable? See, a lot of people give, but they don't know how to make it profitable, and that's hurting them. And I think it's just because they're missing a little bit of a framework. They're missing a word called transmutation. So before we jump off down that rabbit hole, because you know me, I can go down rabbit holes. Is there anything you want to add on this?
Man, I'm just going to say that some people said in the chat, it is very easy to quit. It is very easy to quit. And I want you guys to picture, let's just say you're 25 years old. I want you to picture you're 25 years old. That's making, I don't know, $2,000 a month. You barely can pay your rent. And then you have your true potential here that's making $1 million a month, not a year, a month, right? Picture those two people. The way you have to picture your new version is like a baby. It's a newborn baby. So there's a fresh start, which means you have to be patient. The baby is going to crawl. It's going to take a few months before you start crawling. They're going to start absorbing knowledge, absorbing certain things throughout the baby's life, like a sponge. Eventually, it's going to start crawling, and it's going to start walking. But even though the baby started walking, it's going to continue falling and falling, maybe back to crawling until they can get back up again. And eventually, you're going to start running. So think about how long it takes a baby to start running. What would you say, Marlon? Like 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years, maybe? I don't really remember.
I'd say about anywhere from a year to a year and a half, depending on how quickly the baby develops. I've seen some babies move and start running around like.
Bro, I've seen babies doing parkour and shit, bro. I've seen that crazy stuff. So
my buddy's kid was running by 9 months. It was insane.
Exactly. So you have a baby. It takes 2 years for the baby to start running, and baby's still going to fall here and there. But imagine a baby that had 25 years of life experience prior. That's the only difference with you and the baby. The baby doesn't have any years of experience prior. You do. So, meaning when you hit that 2 year mark and you're still running and falling, your 25 years of previous experience is still going to continue trying to grab you back to that same lifestyle. Always come back, eat unhealthy, watch TV, play video games. Don't be an entrepreneur. Go back to your W-2. It's always going to be there in your mind. But if you genuinely focus on this newborn baby, which is your true version of yourself, and continue, you know what? I'm going to take 26 years for me to overcome these last life experience. If you set that expectation for yourself, I have to defeat this 25 years old of my old version to this new 26 years old version. It's going to be a lot easier for you to go through those hurdles that you're going to go through, right? Again, you have to be able to define the stuff you're going through. Well, oh, I'm having anxieties. Oh, I can't get into real estate. Well, do you think when the baby fell, after running, do you think the baby stopped running the day after that? The day 2 months later? No, the baby continued running and eventually became a grown teenager that started driving a car. That's what you call being consistent in growth. Look at it that way. And whatever you go through, just remember there's going to be this 25 years old version of yourself telling you, no, come back to this lifestyle. Trust me, you're used to this. It's easy. You can just eat some chips, eat ice cream, go work W-2. Whatever it is, whatever you are, just think about it. So whenever there's even a thought of me quitting, I wonder if I even do have thoughts like that. Probably don't. But if I do have a thought of quitting, I know it's my old version trying to pull it back. So I'm never going to go back because I know the old version obviously wasn't successful. So why would I quit? Doesn't make any sense. So you have to be able to define it and have a really, really deep meaning to you on why you're going through the hurdles.
Dang, dude, you're spot on. I love that analogy because you're so right. And like I almost felt, bro, it actually kind of felt like you were talking about me personally, right? When you said $2,000 a month, I'm like at 25. I'm like, dang, bro, were you like opening my bank accounts? Like, because that's about how much I was making at 25, living at home with my mom and my sister. And
Wow.
like so, like that resonated. And then what you said, right? Like being able to be that person that 7-figure a month man, not a year, 7-figure a month man. And that
Yeah,
man is born, but that man's a child. That man is still growing up. And
correct.
to your point, in the very beginning, I was struggling. I remembered when I was making those calls during those first 8 months and I'm working on becoming this new version of myself. There were days where I was feeling so defeated that I would go on Indeed and I would be looking for jobs
Yeah,
while I was making calls in the early days. Nowadays, to your point, I don't even think, and it's funny. I'm like, wow, I don't even think about quitting anymore. But in the beginning, I entertained quitting a lot. It hung out in my conscious mind. And shout out to Peter. Peter said, I'm gonna put this chat up here. Peter says your subconscious goals are 100 times more powerful than your conscious goals. And Peter's so right because what happened is in my conscious mind, I entertained the thought of quitting, but in my subconscious, I had already started to fix the idea that I'm going to be successful, that I'm going to be a man that changes the world, that my life is going to be impactful on this planet, that other people are going to benefit because I walk this way. So shout out to Peter for knowing the difference between the subconscious goals and the conscious goals because it makes a big difference. And I want to bring it back up to Victor for a second. And Victor said, finding that passion about something you're talking about seems to be the struggle. And I would say, Victor, if you're having that struggle or if you know someone else who's having that struggle with finding the passion, I would argue that you know what you want. In fact, I think everybody knows what they want. Because if you sit down and you ask yourself, really, what is it that I want? What do I want? What do you want? And you are left alone with that question. No one else around. You didn't have to justify your answer to anybody. What would you come up with? And don't just think about it. Write it down. Crystallize the thought. Typically, what I find is most people are ashamed to admit what they want. You know what you want. You're just afraid to admit it. See,
Mhm.
for a long time, I knew I wanted to be rich. I wanted to have so much money that I never had to think about money ever again. I wanted to be able to walk into the store and buy whatever I want, to eat whatever I want without looking at the price, but just simply looking at what do I actually want to eat. I wanted to be able to go and travel the world without thinking about it, just spend the money with not a care in the world. However, I was afraid to admit that. I was afraid to admit that because in my mind, I had a mental association that people with money were somehow bad, evil, or they didn't care. And so I felt like by me admitting that I want to have money, in some way, I was saying to people that I don't care about people, that I don't like other people, that I'm selfish, that all these weird things. I was making up stories in my mind, which made me afraid to admit that I actually wanted the thing I knew I wanted. I would argue
Mm.
that people know what they want to do. People are already clear on what they would enjoy doing. Because if I said, all right, let's give you all the money in the world, let's take care of all of your expenses, let's take care of all your problems, what would you be left doing? Some of you are going to say, well, I would go build some orphanage. Some of you would say, I would make music. Some of you are going to say, I would continue building houses. Some of you would say, I would go and buy businesses. Everyone's going to have different answers. You might assume that everyone would have the same answer, but you're all going to have different answers. Whatever your answer is, that's an idea of what you like doing. That's what you're passionate about. And now pick that passion, take it up, rip it apart, and figure out what is it inside of this passion that is pulling me in. What is it? Because I recognize something about myself. With everything I do, my passion comes down to two things: personal development and community. I am
Mm.
passionate about personal development and community. So everything
Mhm.
I do, if it does not incorporate those two things, I will not have the wherewithal. I will not be able to sustain the will to keep showing up. I won't want to do it. I just won't. When I looked at skateboarding, what kept me going for the longest time, it was the personal development. I saw myself getting better day after day, and I had a community of other skateboarders. When my friends finally stopped skating, guess what happened? I kept going for about 4 or 5 months by myself, but one of the major batteries got pulled out for me, the community aspect. So after about 4 or 5 months, I quit. I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, I can't do this, right? Like I got lonely. I realized I needed community. Same thing happens now when I'm working out. The same thing happens when I'm building my business. If I don't have community around me, I start to fall off on my business. So I actively go and plug community in to my business. I plug community into my life, and I plug personal development into my life. You have to figure out for you what's the thing that you do have a passion and you know what it is. Admit it to yourself. That's what it is. And if you're having trouble admitting it to yourself, if any of you are having any issues with your personal development, because I've been fortunate enough to have amazing people in my life who have coached me through, who have guided me through. If you're having issues with that, get yourself a mentor, get yourself a coach, someone that you resonate with. If you think you would resonate with me, go DM me on Instagram, DM me the word coach. We'll set up a discovery call. We'll have a conversation, but find somebody you resonate. If it's Alejandro, and I don't even know if Alejandro's taking people in because his schedule is so busy, but reach out, DM him. If it's someone like, reach out to the people that resonate with you, who you feel can help unlock you, that they stir something up inside of you, and get connected with them. Start to go to places that start to stir your soul a little bit. So, and Alejandro, I saw your hand come up, so I want to bring it back to you, bro.
Yes, I want to go back to community. I want to read something
Ooh.
about community really quick, how important it is. But first, I just remember this is amazing, bro. I'm glad you brought up skateboard because I just had so many flashback of my 14 years old, 15 years old life. Because the whole skateboard thing, I remember like, how did I learn how to do ollie and kickflip? You will not believe this. I will play the game. This is before I had, a phone. I didn't even have Wi-Fi. I don't know if for those who remember the days in Windows XP when you used to have the polar game, the polar bear game for bowling. And
Yeah.
only Muji will remember that. No Wi-Fi, so you have your computer. But bro, the way I learned how to ollie was playing the video game, and I would watch it in slow motion. I would literally watch Tony Hawk how he did the ollie in slow motion, and I would go back outside in my grandma's patio, with the little rod, the clothes rod, and I would replicate that. So I'm like, whoa, that's interesting because for us to learn, check this out, for us to learn, um, something that we don't know, we must learn it from someone that does in a slower pace than they do currently. Because this is the mistake a lot of people have, is that
Mm,
they see someone doing a kickflip and they don't even know how to freaking balance on the board yet. And then when they don't do a kickflip the first month, they quit. They don't take the slow motion approach, learn how to balance, learn how to ollie. You know, you and I both know you have to learn how to ollie before you kickflip.
yup.
So you have to learn how to ollie, and then you do a kickflip, and then you do a varial flip. This is so crazy. You're making me remember all these trick names and all that stuff. But that's how I learned, is watching it slow motion, and then I will learn how to move on from there. But that's a whole thing we can talk about. But here's how important community is for those introverted out there, right? I used to be an introvert myself until, again, a mentor of mine told me it's selfish for me to keep all the talents to myself. I'm like, wow, I never looked at it that way, right? And I'm always someone that I'm wanting to give back and give back and give back. And then, I was like, well, how can I give back? And if I'm an introvert, if I'm here in my back cave all by myself, how can I give back? It's impossible. So I'll read this. This is from, I think this is the book I'm reading currently right now, Persuasion by Robert Dalcini. Let me look it up really quick. So I want to make sure you guys watch this one. Robert Cialdini. Persuasion. So let me read this because I know Marlon want to go over some stuff really quick. Yeah, Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. It says here, you can start to see that kind of shadow side of, or that stranger within. And that's the only hope, because when you're in denial, you don't realize that you're being a narcissist. You don't realize that you're being governed by your own emotions. You could think you're superior to other people. You can think that you are superior to other people just because of the opinion you hold. You can let your shadow side come out without even being aware of it. You need to come to terms with the fact that 95% of your ideas and opinions are not your own. They come from what other people have taught you, from what you're reading on the internet, from what other people are saying and doing. You're conformist. You are a conformist. That's who you are. I'm like that, and everybody is like that. And you realize that only by throwing some light on yourself and realizing that these qualities, these flaws that are built into us, they are inside you too. Only then can you begin to overcome them and use them for productive purposes. These are things I read because sometimes I have these thoughts in my mind, and people ask me questions and I can't really explain it in great terms. And when I read books, it's like, oh, that's how I can tell someone, hey, why do you think people are like this? And they're not born like that. Those are everyone. I came to terms that everyone has their own reality. So if I think I can work 24/7 and die peacefully, someone can be like, oh no, that is you're pushing yourself, you're doing too much, right? That's their own personality. It doesn't make them wrong, it doesn't make them right in my world. So it's two complete different world, right? So I say that because community is so important. If you believe you can't do it, the people around you believe you can't do it, especially yourself. But if you're around people that believe they're doing great things, like Marlon and I, we have business, we have real estate, we own properties. If you surround yourself with people like that, you're going to start to believe that you can buy properties and be successful like us as well. But remember, your older version is always sneaking in, always. So that's what I wanted to say.
Bro, I couldn't agree with you more, and it's a perfect segue because I literally today made a comment about like the power of proximity and the people that you spend time with. Like I made a Facebook post about this earlier because we're gearing up for and actually shout out to everyone. Like we're doing our first mastermind here at the Mindset Manor on September 8th. So if people are interested in that, we only have 5 spots left. where it's exactly what you're talking about. It's the power of proximity. It's a group of like-minded entrepreneurs getting together in a tribe, and I'm bringing in 7-figure, 8-figure, and potentially we're going to get a 9-figure earner coming in to spend time with the group so that it's in a deep immersion, a 3-day weekend, being immersed here in the house, going on runs, going on hikes, going and just connecting, networking, building our businesses, building our minds, building our spirit, building our body, all these things together. Because to your point, when you get exposure to people who are doing things at a higher level, who are doing the things that you want to do, what they start to do is they start to widen your belief. And you need belief. If you don't have belief, you won't be able to get the things done. When Alejandro and myself, when we were skateboarding, ultimately what kept us coming back was there was this belief that eventually we would win, that eventually we would figure it out. There was a belief that if we kept going, it would work. And if we were surrounding ourselves with other people who kept feeding into that, they were like, yeah, you got this, you got this. Guess what? I'm going to keep going. If I'm around people who aren't feeding into it, if I don't make it in time, my flame might die before I ever actually get to turn that ember into a full-on bonfire. So you want to be around people. You want to get proximity with people who are going to look at what you're doing and they're going to feed into it. And what's more important is it's not just empty. It's not like your parents who have never done this, who are saying like, yeah, I support you. They're biased. They have to say that because they love you. But when you get that confirmation from somebody who's done what it is you're trying to do, makes a massive difference. I'd say that proximity is the cheat code. I truly think proximity is the cheat code to life, because everything good that's come to me has come as a result of relationships that I've built by getting proximity, by getting into different rooms, by building on different relationships. Truly, I mean, the home I live into, the money I've raised, the businesses I have, even the things I get to do now has been all about proximity and exposure to the things that I desire in my life. So I want to open that up as an invite to people that are interested. If you guys are interested, everything that I'm ever doing, if you guys are following me on Instagram, just go to my Instagram. You will be up to date, because sometimes people are like, why didn't you tell me about this earlier? And quite honestly, it's really hard to respond to everyone in real time while still running the business. I have not yet figured that piece out yet. I'm still working on how do I respond to everyone and still operate my business. However, I do my best by going on Instagram and just sharing what I'm doing between Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. I just share there. So if you're interested in coming out, 5 spots left. It's a paid event. If you are brand new, this might be too soon for you. But if you've got a little bit of traction and you understand the power of proximity and you want to accelerate, then go to my link in my link tree in my Instagram, click on it and apply. And I would love to have you out here. I would love to meet you in person, shake your hand, get to build a relationship and deepen a relationship if we already have one. But proximity is a game changer. It will be the difference between, Warren Buffett, Uncle Warren. He said this, right? This will be the last thing I say, and I'll wrap it up. Warren Buffett said when he was a younger man, he had a good friend, and he and his good friend were both stepping into the workforce. And what happened was Warren got into investments, as we all know, and his friend got into American Steel, right? Which was a big thing back in the day. Like, American Steel was a big company, not really anything today, but back then that was a big industry. And he said his friend was smarter than him, more talented than him, harder working than him. And yet Warren outpaced this man just exponentially. And it wasn't that his friend did bad, right? He had a pretty all right life, but Warren learned, he said, listen, one of the most valuable lessons I learned was it wasn't really about how hard you row. It was about what boat you were in. And that's proximity, getting into the right boats, getting into the right rooms, getting into the right communities, and staying in those places long enough to receive the benefit of being on the right boat. Because you can be rowing really hard, but if you're in a rowboat and I'm in a war tanker, I'm sorry. It's an unfair advantage that your little boat will not be able to overcome. Instead, simply choose to get out of that boat and to get into a better vehicle. So proximity will allow you the ability to get into a better vehicle. And that's why you're watching a podcast like this on a Tuesday. That's why, of all the places you could be on, all the videos you could be watching, on all the things you could be doing, you chose to come and kick it with Alejandro and myself on a Tuesday afternoon for an hour. You're built different. Trust me. You were built different. So stay connected, stay close to this campfire. I want to say I appreciate you guys for being here. And if you're getting value from these episodes, really, this is how you can pay it forward, because we cannot grow without you. I need your help to grow. I'm asking you for your help. I want to get this sort of message out to more people. I want to find more people that are like us, more people that thought they were alone, that were convinced that they were crazy, they're black sheep of their family. And then they finally get introduced to other people like us and they realize, like, holy crap, other people think like me. If you can, do me a favor, please share this video out. Share it on your social media platforms. Share it on Instagram. Share it on Facebook. Share it on YouTube. Send it in a text message. Give it to your mom. Give it to your friend. Put it in your church group. Please, like, send this video out, because somebody needs to hear this. This video, this message, I just have a feeling, because again, it's on my heart today. I got a feeling like, and for me, it's like a Holy Spirit thing. I got a feeling like the Spirit is trying to talk to somebody today. And so I need your help to send this message out to more people so it can find whoever it needs to find. So that's the due that I'm asking you to pay today if you were here to be a part of this. So thank you. Appreciate you, Jada. Appreciate you, Peter. Appreciate you, Brandon, Hillary, Miko, Orlando. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you for commenting. And I'm going to pass it to Alejandro so he can close us out and we could wrap up episode 41.
That's crazy.
Nuts.
That's crazy. Yeah. So that was Marlon, it's always a pleasure to have you here and share those facts and your life experience. When it comes to mindset, you're the guy, you're the man that can help us have a little bit more clearer vision, throughout our journey of success. So I appreciate you for that, and I appreciate everyone that's showing up every Tuesday. Even if you can make it every Tuesday and you watch, the playback, I appreciate you guys. And whoever needs help, whoever has questions about real estate or mindset stuff, I mean, our Instagram are here not, for design or, to look cool. It's here for you so you guys can reach out to us. So, if you enjoy this podcast and you gain value from it, all we ask for is to share with your friends, share the link, post a picture on your Instagram and tag us. And so other people can be like, okay, great. Let's check out what Jade is talking about. Let's check out what Hillary's talking about. Let's check out what Peter's talking about. Brandon, Orlando, what is this guy posting on Instagram, their Instagram story? Post it if you got any value. And if you didn't, no problem. Perhaps we'll see you next week and that can give you value. Either way, we appreciate your vision, your views and your support. So Marlon, let's go ahead and do a little deuces for the gram. And